We often, and rightly, focus on Mary's response to the angel and are inspired by it. And I think if we ponder a little more and delve a little deeper into what was going on for her as nearly as we can, we might be even more edified. And so you might read, I've read it many times actually, that Mary was disturbed as anyone would. You'd walk in and there's an angel in your house, you know. But that's not really what Luke says here. According to Luke here, but she was greatly troubled at what was said, not at finding the angel there. She was troubled by what the angel said to her and by the greeting that she heard from the angel. And so first of all, so there are two parts to this greeting. Hail, full of grace. In Greek, and you'll read this is often written about, kikaritomene, would have meant, as near as we can tell, for Mary, this is a greeting that no one else would have ever received. That she had received the fullness of God's grace, not just grace, but saving grace. That the salvation that Israel looked forward to and had looked forward to for thousands of years had been given to her. And secondly, the Lord is with you. We have to remember that Mary, like most observant Jews then, or it would, I should say Israel, no, I guess you could say Jews at that point, would know the scriptures, would know the stories, and so would recognize some things about the Lord is with you more than we would. We, in our liturgy, have the greeting, the Lord be with you. It's not the same as the Lord is with you. And so where this shows up, for instance, I guess most famously, would be with Moses at the burning bush, you know. And God tells Moses, I'm going to send you to Pharaoh to free my people from slavery. And Moses says, well, how can I do this? I am not worthy of this. I'm not equal to the task. This is something far beyond me. And God doesn't give him any preparation, but he says this to him, I will be with you. And so also with Joshua, for instance. Moses is coming to the end of his life. Israel is poised to enter the promised land. Moses has been told that he will not be allowed to enter the promised land. And so they'll go forward with Joshua. Suddenly now Joshua is going to take Moses' place. Moses who received the law from God. Moses who could speak with God face to face. Moses who had led Israel all through the desert. Moses who had struck the rock and water had come forth. Moses who had done all these marvelous things. Now Joshua is to take Moses' place. And again, Moses doesn't really give Joshua any encouragement as far as, or any advice, I should say, of how to do things or this or the other. Moses says to Joshua, the Lord will be with you. And there are many other places. But again and again, when someone has been asked to do some great deed by God, God has made only this promise: I will be with you. And so Mary doesn't know what's coming, but for the angel to say, the Lord is with you, is pretty close to saying, God is going to ask something pretty amazing of you, you know. And so here's Mary thinking, okay, how do I possess all of the saving grace that was promised to Israel? And how is it that God is going to ask me to do something great for Israel? That's what Mary is thinking. I think we can safely assume. That's why the greeting troubled her so much. And to go on and to kind of condense it, just to review a little bit, this now is what the angel says to her after all that she has found favor with God. That also is another, would trigger in her many memories. That triggers Noah. Noah had found favor with God, and that's why God chose Noah to do the great thing that he did. Abraham, God says to Abraham, I found favor with you. And so that's when he asks Abraham to do the great thing that Abraham did. So again, it's clear that Mary is going to play some role in the salvation of Israel. A young teenage girl from a tiny town. Right? And then she will be expecting a baby. She's not even had relations with her husband. She's not even completely married. She's betrothed. But the angel tells her she will have a baby. And that this baby is the long-awaited Messiah who will restore Israel's kingdom. And that the baby will not be conceived by natural processes, but through a miraculous conception by the Holy Spirit. And in fact, the baby will be the Son of God, will be divine. It's in the midst of all this, we can imagine any number of responses, you know, normal human responses. Silence being one of them, I think. I just sit there and look at the angel, you know. But who am I would be a completely understandable and proper response. I mean, who am I to take a place with Moses, Noah, Abraham, Joshua, Isaiah, you know, all these? Who am I? Or I'm not worthy. Any number of responses would be understandable. It's in the midst of this is where Mary's response, behold, I'm the handmaid of the Lord, be it done unto me according to your word, becomes for me even more amazing when I kind of sift through all of what's going on in this encounter with Gabriel. Just even the fact that this angel has come to her would be enough, you know. But all this, and clearly, there's no way Mary could have understood all of this, right? As we know, Luke says she pondered all these things in her heart. And clearly, certain things surprised her. For instance, Jesus being in the temple, you know. So we know she didn't understand all of this. This willingness to be in the hands of God and let God use her as God wills is also in itself I think, edifying and even somewhat amazing. So in the midst of all this, she says, I'm yours to use as you will. I'm your servant. Use me. And as we celebrate this feast, we realize, and it's going to sound trivial in a way compared to the immensity of what's going on, but clearly God chose the right person. Now, God knew that, right? But on this feast day, just to ponder that in some amazement of what Mary did would be sufficient. But it's always worthwhile for us to extrapolate from that as well. When God asks us to do something, however it comes to us, whether your pastor asks you, your bishop, somebody has a need from you, whatever, you see something that needs to be done, or you feel it in your heart, in your own prayer, you feel called to something. We have so many responses that may be humanly normal and understandable, but perhaps we could think about this, practice this almost, so when the time comes we can say it. I'm the handmaid of the Lord. I'm God's servant. I'll do whatever God asks me to do, whether I completely understand it, whether I feel worthy of it, whether it seems too big for me, whatever it is. Because we can be sure of this, I think, just as sure as Mary and Moses and Noah and Abraham and all the rest, that if God asks us to do something, God will be with us to help us accomplish it.